Jeff, I can't thank you enough for being on the CEO Global Network podcast today. It's great to see you. I've been looking forward with anticipation to this podcast because I've got some really interesting questions for you, and I can't wait to hear your answers
Great.
to them. Okay, but just before we get started, I want to let everybody know, Jeff, a little bit about your background, and people have probably been to your LinkedIn by now, but I just want to give you some highlights. Number one, everybody, president of Highliner Foods, director of marketing and director of sales strategy and planning for McCain's, senior leadership roles with iconic brands like Pepsi and Quaker Oats. So an outstanding career. Also been CEO and senior executive positions in a number of other companies, including startups and independent companies owned by private equity. Just a tremendous leadership background. Member of the board of directors of Niagara College. And I want to say how great this one is. Group leader and mentor with CEO Global Network. And it's great to have you on our roster as a group leader and mentor, Jeff, because, it means a lot to have someone of your quality with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the first question for you, let's just get started.
Yeah.
I've often heard you talk about unlocking the special in people. Unlocking the special. What does that really mean for CEOs at the top of their game, Jeff?
I do talk about that a lot.
You do.
And I think for good reason, because not to downplay strategy execution, it's really important, but I fundamentally believe that people unlock the special in a situation. That, strategy execution is important, but people really do. So for a CEO to be at the top of their game, I think their utmost responsibility is they got to be unlocking the special in their team daily. They got to nurture and extract talent all the time. But how do they do that? I think it really starts with a really, really good one-to-one at a minimum on a monthly basis. And not just, hey, how you doing today? Get at that real stuff, the real stuff that matters. What do we got to talk about? What's the most important thing we should use our time today on? What about strategic priorities? What about metrics? How's the trailing performance of the business? And so really getting to the meat of things. But I think it's most important to stay at the top of the game, John. You can't let the daily demands get in the way of having that one-on-one. So I think, to unlock the special in people, it's rigorous commitment from a CEO to have those one-to-ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, Jeff. That's outstanding advice. Thank you for that. From your perspective, with all your experience, what separates a good CEO from a truly great one?
Let's build on the first question. So
Okay.
I think good CEOs unlock the special in others, but I think great CEOs focus on unlocking the special in themselves. I think that's a differentiating factor. So you can't lead a high performance team unless you're an A player yourself. Having this unwavering commitment, great CEOs, I think, have that they want to unlock the special in themselves. So, but sometimes it's that vulnerability to accept maybe I need a mentor. Maybe I need somebody to look at my leadership, to maybe look at my strengths. I think CEOs often, this thing called strengths overplayed. Sometimes it can be a hindrance to your growth. And so I think great CEOs accept somebody else can give them an opposing point of view. And I think, accepting mistakes, accepting feedback. So unlocking the special in themselves while also unlocking the special in others, I think that's what separates good CEOs from great ones.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you for that. Many leaders wait for clarity. You push them to create clarity, Jeff. How does a CEO actually do that in uncertain times? How do they get clarity in uncertain?
I think it's uncertainty that tests leadership. So I think that's where the CEO's got to show up. Leaders got to show up when there is ambiguity. And so I think we often wait as leaders for the right answers, all the answers. We want things to be so perfect. I think that paralyzes an organization. I think executives and teams can live in uncertainty, but they can't live in ambiguity. Lencioni, I think, talks about it best in his book, where he talks about, one of the temptations, one of the 5 is this idea of just waiting and everything has to be right. And so I think I push leaders and CEOs to create that clarity. Don't wait for it. If you wait for it, it'll never happen. And I think often too, leadership teams need that CEO to say, okay, with confidence, here's where we're going. Here's how we're going to get there. but do it through the team. Don't do it by yourself, and don't wait for clarity. You got to push through. So I really spend time with leaders and CEOs. Just don't wait for it. I think it'll never happen. Uncertainty can be paralyzing. So I just push people to go through that door. You don't need all the answers, and don't let it be a hindrance.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. Terrific. What's the biggest blind spot you see CEOs facing right now as it relates to the environment, sort of the big picture environment? Do you see a blind spot?
Yeah, I think simple hits, they just wait for it to get better, hoping that tariffs will ease, hoping that geopolitical tensions will go away, hoping the macroeconomic situation improves. Well, I think that's where that uncertainty leads to inaction. And so, from a blind spot perspective, it just doesn't. You can't wait. You got to move. And so, I think great leaders, they don't wait for the world to get easier. They get better at leading through it. Push through that door.
Yeah, push through that door indeed. Absolutely. How do peer groups like CEO Global Network change the trajectory of a leader's decision making? Have you seen how that does that?
Well, it's no secret, John, that you're emphatic about this idea that you grow through connection, not isolation. And I really do subscribe to that. I think clarity, courage, accountability, it all comes from this being vulnerable and that willingness to face things head on, but not doing it alone. Like, that's really hard. But this idea of opening yourself up to a peer group and working with others, because I've personally witnessed how lonely leadership is. That corner office, it is lonely. We don't always have the ability to go to somebody. Very rarely do we have an advisor or a group of really smart people to bring our biggest challenges, biggest opportunities. And I like this idea of idea doubling or tripling. I talk a lot about it in innovation development. Well, within leadership and with executives, why wouldn't you have the same opportunity to bring your biggest challenges and issues to smart leaders that have been there, that can give you a holistic perspective? So I think this idea of accelerating issues and opportunities through a peer group is it's really important. That's where the decision making capability goes from individual to getting it more accretive and just exponential.
100%. And during your career, you were part of CEO peer groups, weren't you? And
Yeah,
and now lead them, right? And now lead
yeah. And I wish I had one. I wish I had one.
100%. Well, Jeff, one last question for you, and then we're going to wrap up. Okay. Last question. Looking back on your own career, your very successful career, what was the hardest leadership lesson that you had to learn the slow way?
That stirs up so much emotion, because the fact when you add the dimension of the slow way, because often you don't know what's happening. You don't realize that lesson is unfolding behind you because it's going slow. And so mine clearly, and I know I can put my thumb right on it, is I didn't focus on the A player development fast enough and me personally becoming an A player fast enough. I let mediocrity creep in, too much time spent on B players and not realizing that, you got to be an A player yourself if you want to lead other players. So, and my ideological stance actually gets in the way. I'm wholeheartedly believe that unlocking the special in people is the way to do it, but I didn't do it myself. And so I think the reality, John, of learning that the hard way, and I mentioned it just previously, had I had a peer group, a mentor to help me see through my challenges, my opportunities, my team, my business, I think I would have avoided some of those hard lessons. And especially when you phrase it the slow way, because the slow way creeps up. It's not like it hits you right in the face. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And having that mentor, having someone to talk to, someone in your corner is just so critical, right? And being able to surround yourself with other CEOs, running businesses real time. And well, as I said, Jeff, it's just so great to have you with us at CEO Global Network because you bring so much great experience and a big heart in your chest as well, care about others, right? So I can't thank you enough for being on the CEO Global Network podcast today. Really appreciate you sharing your wisdom from your successful career with us. Thank you so much, Jeff. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it too.